something?
No, I'm not.
No, don't worry, we'll get by. It's
Yeah,
conversations
it's
that
just
you,
that time of the day.
oh, that
So,
time of the
yeah.
day. Your batteries are low now.
Yeah, but they're getting back.
Okay, don't worry. We'll fix that. We'll find a way on how we can fix that.
Great.
Of course. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sianda Dlamini. I work at EBH Eswatini Business Mental Health and Wellness.
Oh, thank you, Nkosi. Uphilile wena namuhla. Yeah, okay. No, thank you for asking. I'm actually fine and happy. And worth noting is that we're fresh from celebrating International Men's Month. So, ngivanga ukuthi this is an interlude to a very, very great 16 days of activism, because as men, we have been empowered for 30 days. I hope you guys were celebrating us, because we are about to celebrate you in this next 16 days.
Yes, we were.
Okay.
We hope you're mentally well and ready to take on no GBV. Ready to act.
We are well. We are well. Okay, at least we think we are well. So we are just going to have those conversations. Maybe when you will check, Guguzi, how well are we, or how not so well are we? Because I don't want to use unwell. All right, over to you, sir.
Good evening, Ndosh, and good evening, my fellow viewers. My name is Bonkosi Ndlangamandla. I'm the National Coordinator for Men Engage Eswatini.
Okay. I know. It looks like it's a whole buffet today. I have a whole lot of experts in the room. And thank you to Standard Bank for making sure that they provide us with this excellent panelist. Please, if you're at home, don't forget to join us on the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Follow the conversation, because at some point in time this evening, we will definitely be reading some of the comments. Bongose. WHO has actually predicted that by the year 2025, NCDs will be one of the most world over. And for some weird reason, the way that everything is now, mental health also falls part of NCDs, which is non-communicable diseases. With everything that's happening on the newspaper, you've got a suicide case, someone social lomunye. What would you say, or how would you actually introduce us into this trend? Because it looks like it's a trend now. With everyone, every other day, we're reporting a case of GBV on the newspaper.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mgone. Currently, as a country, we are faced with a serious issue around how things are in relation to GBV and other social ills.
Yeah.
In the fact that as a country, we are having an uncontrollable number of suicides, more especially amongst men.
Yes.
Where out of 10 successful suicides in the kingdom, 7 of them are men. And also in the country, we have a serious concern amongst mentally challenged cases, which predominantly amongst men. And also we've got another issue of high prison population amongst men as well.
Yes.
And that presents us with a serious number of issues which says there is that issue that remains unaddressed. And that again also is that issue is also the contributing factor on the GBV cases that we see on daily basis, where we find men to be dominating the list of perpetrators on the reported cases. And also we see another issue that we've got very fewer cases of men reporting gender-based violence, only to find that when now there is that femicide that have taken place during the intervention on the investigation of that case, you'll find that there has been this misunderstanding that has been ongoing between those couples, and to the extent that when now, if it was reported earlier, there could have been a case that is being reported by the men. But only to find that even in terms, the men are not so keen to report. It's not necessarily that they are not so keen per se, but it's the issue of socialization, that men are socialized to not report. Because when you report as a man, it's a sign of being weak. It's seen as a sign of being weak. So it then pushes men into not reporting, which then now also present a serious challenge when now we have men who are suppressing their feelings. The only feelings that they need to show is that when they now need to show that they are angry, only to find that that makes them vulnerable into perpetuating gender-based violence.
Yeah, right. I fully agree with you because I think I have been also exposed to some of the statistics. With mentioning once again is the fact that we have a total of 12. So as a prison now, we've got 12 correctional facilities in the Kingdom of Eswatini. I don't know if you guys are aware about that. And then only 11 belong to male, and there's only one for females. You know. And now my question again is, do we have long-term consequences in as far as GBV is concerned? Because when you look into B.F. Skinner, he tells you that the environment influences behavior. So we don't know where this GBV stems or comes from. But if you can highlight some of the long-term consequences of GBV.
Okay. The end point on the long-term consequences, the issue of GBV being a chain, being a generational activity, because research has proven that someone who's growing up in an abusive situation or in an abusive environment, that person tends to condone violence, which says a girl child that is raised under an abusive situation or environment, that girl child will feel like in order for one to demonstrate love to me, that person needs to abuse me.
Yeah.
And also, even in terms of the boy child, you will find that the boy child on adulthood, when there is a conflict, will use the same approach that his father was using to address any conflict within the home setting. And that will happen even if the boy child was angry when the father was doing to the mother, to the extent that you hear men saying, at earlier years, I used to blame my father for doing this, but now I understand why he was doing that. And that is just a clear point to say, this person has been groomed into this. And also, the issue of violence, it does not only affect families because, it brings hatred within families. Okay. It also brings hatred within community because you are abusing my child and we are from the same community. And that also now brings an issue of an environment of an angry community. When now we see the issues of gangsterism. Gangsterism emanates from these angry individuals. You can't tell me a 12-year-old can have the guts to take a knife and to stab you on your buttocks as an older person. That courage comes from the anger that comes as a result of gender-based violence. And also, there is an issue of death. We've got a number of people that have died out of gender-based violence. And also, we've got a high number of people that are going through taking sessions at the psychiatric center because of gender-based violence. And also, we've got a lot of admissions that are currently active nowadays because of gender-based violence.
It's something that I'm closely monitoring and working with. And I like how you are really eager and giving us the info. And it's going to be a very, very fruitful session. I don't know how you guys are in as far as the workspace is concerned. I understand you're a wellness champion. So I also want to understand how the GBV cases look like and are actually standing in workplaces, seeing that you are coming from an NGO background.
Thank you, Ndosh. So, GBV is very common in workspaces. We need to first remember that violence is not always overt. So workspaces will normally have the emotional sort of abuse, the sexual harassment, the verbal harassment, the gaslighting, overworking somebody, seeking favors, which leave people feeling emotionally low, doubting themselves, overworked, And then the overt ones are the sexual abuse, harassment in the workplace, where usually you find that somebody is in a less of a power position and there's somebody else who feels like they've got control over them, and then there's that level of abuse. So there's both.
Yeah.
And the other one that's a little bit hidden, the emotional consequences of them, are what people will generally not see, which makes it a little bit more difficult to report. But it is common. And then abuse is also seen in that space in terms of domestic abuse, consequences of it. My colleagues will experience it because then I'm irritable. I've got low self-esteem
Yeah.
and there's lack of sleep at night. So in the morning at work, this person is tired, they can't concentrate. The next person has to take more of their work than they would have ordinarily. People are jumpy. A joke which might not have upset them before is
Upsets them
very,
now.
very sensitive and triggering. Everybody doesn't know what they will do to trigger that person because that person is coming out of a volatile space.
Yeah.
And we won't automatically understand because it's hidden, isn't it? If I had an abusive situation at home, I'll most likely take a 6 sheet so you guys won't see while I have the bruise. And then the
Yeah.
next day I come in
Concealer.
with all those issues and performance suffers. So yes, there's a lot of GPV that happens in the workplace, and then there's a lot of the experience from the domestic situations that people experience that roll into the workspace and affect the victim themselves and the community
Yeah.
in the workspace.
Yeah. And I also know that, you know, when you speak about workspaces, give or take, we spend something like 8 hours, 8 hours at work,
Yes.
and that's a whole lot of hours in a day because a car, by the time you get home, everyone is tired. And people want to watch their soapies. Some just want to sleep. We still have the gym to actually go to, and you, even if you are not the victim, if someone in your workspace is being victimized, you become the secondary victim, because
Yes.
now you have to carry a whole lot of load. Which brings me to the question: is there a link between mental health and GBV?
Oh yes, definitely. First off, a perpetrator has probably had a bad experience that has affected their mental health, or they've got certain issues, issues that arise from what Langamandla was speaking about on anger. They've witnessed abuse. They've witnessed triggering situations in their life. They experience maybe lack of self-control, impulse issues, lack of emotional intelligence, which was what you use when you manage your emotions. So first is the perpetrator, and then the victim.
Yeah.
Perpetrators will tend to pick people they will
Oh, yes.
victimize.
I get it.
Always what they will perceive as a weaker link, or they will break a person down.
Yeah.
So before the continuous beating and the violence, there is a level of emotional breakdown, and working on that emotional and the mental fortitude and resilience of the victim. I beat you today. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
It was you shouldn't have
Mistake.
done that and
Yeah.
whatever. And then you get the love bombing, and so the victim themselves have already in a poor mental state, and then there is the trauma from the actual violence,
Yeah.
where now there's a post-traumatic stress. There's this, the trauma, the anger, the self-blame, the irritability, just the jumpiness.
Yeah.
When someone walks past and you didn't hear them and they just hear and you're jumpy all
Yeah,
over
yeah, yeah.
work, you're really not concentrating and engaging in your work. So there's a very big link.
Yeah.
There's a link with the children who witness this. There's anger towards the children. So children also grow up with that emotional wreckage that is caused by that violence or abuse that they witness. The parents of the victims are usually angry with their children if they witness that. So even the raising of those children's mental health is already compromised.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I totally agree with you. Langamandla, I see you're fired up with some of the insights that you most probably have. We've seen a whole lot of influential figures, even on the newspapers, magazine, and definitely the internet, committing these offenses. So my question is, are there signs? Is there a way where we can look out for? Are there things to look out for, especially when it comes to GBV?
Thank you so much. I'm going for that. Yes, there are signs for gender-based violence, but you know, I think what we need to understand is that gender-based violence comes as, if we were to make an example of a mango tree, I will say gender-based violence are the mangoes on that tree. So now, what gives that tree the potential to bear those fruits is the fact that it's a mango tree.
Yeah.
So what we need to understand, one does not decide from adulthood to be a perpetrator. There is a it's a series of work
Yeah,
that has to
intended,
happen to make that particular individual to be a perpetrator,
Yeah. So
to
the-
bear gender-based violence.
So we need to find a way on how we clear the whole environment and make
Exactly.
it a safe space for everyone,
Everyone.
male
so,
or female.
So now what I want us to first to point to the entry point, to the root cause of gender-based violence, being the socialization. You know, those who talk about childhood development, they will say about 80% of one's mind matured in age range 0, from age range 0 to 8 years.
Yeah.
They are very much crucial
the formative
in
years.
ensuring that one's mind is developed correctly or badly. So that is to say, when I'm with men, I say, when you deny the pregnancy, know that already you've deposited a rejection on part of the 80% of the mind of that child. There is rejection. So now, there is no magic that you can then come at a later stage expect that person to act differently. When now there was a rejection by the father and the mother tried to commit suicide, to commit abortion, and she failed, and they chased her out from her home. And then when they go to report that pregnancy and they denied that pregnancy, they say bring the child back after 3 months. So all those experiences, they are weighing hard on that child already. We are grooming a perpetrator.
Yeah.
And then now we move on even in terms of the toys that we are doing. You know, I hear a lot of men that is complaining about how women demand money from men. And I will just make a simple illustration to say, a girl child is given a kitchen set to use from very tender age, and a boy child is given a car. And then now when you go to the laws of accounting, when you buy a car, it's an investment. I'm happy that I'm at the bank, so because it's considered a car is considered as an asset, a movable asset. It's a long-term asset. Whereas when you buy a kitchen set, it's expenses. So now a girl child is given a concept of spending money, whilst the boy child is given a concept of investing money. So which money is this lady who's spending? The money from the man. So now it then presents the two people vulnerable. I'm vulnerable as a man that someone is going to come and demand my money. And I need to give that person that money.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, she also vulnerable that I need to spend money, but where is this money coming from? From the man. And that presents us with the vulnerability to say, with men now, they will then find the means to say, in order for me to not complain about this money that she is taking, I need to find something on her. And then there is sex that is coming into play. So now men are using women as sexual objects in exchange for the money. And women also understand that in order to get that money, I need to talk about sex. And then they will give all the money they have in order for them to get the sex. So that is the vulnerability in these two people. Because now any sexual intercourse that is going to happen is not consensual, but now it's on the basis of a give and take, what I get, what I don't get, which then now that presents both people being vulnerable because, you know, you have a situation where now men will say, I don't count one as my ex if we separated without engaging in sex. So now, which is to say, if a man say, I've got a body count of 50, it means I've slept with 50 people. And then now this critical aspect also is we are getting to HIV, is the aspect that says most men, they don't they don't feel that I had sex with this person if we only had protected sex. So which is to say now, if the body count is 50, it means 50 unprotected sex. And then now it's another conversation when we get to HIV. So that, again, that's vulnerability. Emanates from the socialization. That's the root cause. So if now we address that, everyone needs to be taught the concept of investing. And also boy child is also vulnerable in terms of them not being able to take care of the house, because when now they are moving to a situation where now they need to look after themselves, they need to wash and clean the house for themselves and cook for themselves. They then bring a female to come and cook for them, and then they impregnate that person. They don't want that child. The only issue they were dealing with is the housework chores that they had to take care of. So that child now is another burden. Hence why in the country we've got a high number of children that are not taken care of. Actually, the Department of Social Welfare is
DPM
now
office.
working hard to address that issue. Why is it the responsibility of the DSW office whereby two people, consenting adults, agreed to enjoy themselves, and the consequence of their enjoyment, now someone needs to be running after them. So that comes from a fact that someone is raised up without all the life skills that that particular person need, and it makes that person depend on the other.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it, because now probably looking at it from a standpoint of, in as far as gender is concerned, maybe the female's access to education, healthcare, and the opportunities are actually not as bright as maybe the men's opportunities. I'm looking at it from a perspective also on you touched on how the boy child is raised and how the girl child is raised. I'd like to echo that, and as far as from 0 to 9, or maybe from 0 to 8, the girl child is taught how to feel, because if you're dressed in your princess dress, everyone will shower you with those, compliments. You look nice, you're looking pretty, you look like a princess, you look like you just came out of a magazine. So you from 0 to 9, that is always something that you look forward to, a compliment. Once you dress up, you look nice, you are expecting a compliment. So you are being taught how to feel. Whereas a boy child, once he dresses up and puts on his tuxedo, the first thing that they'll say, how so ufuna kuba ngumfundisi? It's you being taught how not to feel, because if someone has to shower a compliment to you, it has to be a drive-by shooting. It's not going to be direct. Angibekise pins. You have a window, lapho khona umfana uyasukuma uyalishayisa lapha, a female child. People normally stand up, balshaye naleli fastelo bashikise sisi bamthulise. With that loud bang, they'll always like banagele the female child. And then as a boy child, once washaya leli kona, baguquka bonke bathi bathi hayi ningambuki utawukhala. Again, we're going back to men are mostly taught how not to feel. Sianda, I see you smiling. In as far as most of these gender inequalities that I'm speaking about and the whole contribution in the Kingdom of Eswatini, do these inequalities exist in the workplace?
You just said them. Yes. Yes.
I want to hear them from you.
Really, because we also just from what you were saying, Ndosh, let our boy children cry.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's human to feel. It's human to feel. All this bottled up anger has resulted in all this violence also. Because even when a person is frustrated, they're not even used to talking. And they grow up and they get into relationships with ladies, and ladies say, communicate with me. And this person has never been taught to communicate. Nobody said, oh, you're handsome.
Yeah, you look nice.
oh, sorry, the window hurt you.
Yeah.
The window hurts because we're
Yeah.
human,
Yeah.
you know. So all the bottled up anger will always have a bursting point, a melting point at some level or the other. So also how we nurture children is very important. Like again, Babendla Ngamandla was saying, but with the inequalities, just from the teapot and the car, you get now to a corporate space because this is a cultural dynamic.
Yeah.
So people will carry it from home, and they will you get now to a place where there's a strategic meeting or what, and also then organizations have evolved differently. But you do get those spaces where kufuneka kwenziwe litiya, and then litiya kufuneka lenziwe by the lady.
Ooh, yes, I get it. I
And
get it.
while we all sit down to strategize, mina and Sis Nombilo are now standing around by the tea, making tea for the two of us,
guys.
and then you guys are having a head start on the discussion and all of that. So it's a little bit of those where the ladies are still taking that role, that motherhood, little bit of a domestic role, even in
The
a
teapot.
corporate space. Yes, because it emanates from the teapot.
Yeah.
And automatically those roles, and it's taking a little bit of time to change, but it does create a lot of inequality. And also, then you find in the domestic space, women will tend to have to get up in the morning, look after the child. That's a whole dynamic on its own. Look after the children, make sure lunch boxes are done, look after hubby and everything before you go and you put on your suit and you go and get into a corporate space. Already you're tired. There's a lot of emotional and mental work going into that, and now you have to put on another hat, and after work you have to put on another hat again, and then after they put on the wife hat, and then the gentlemen are finding that, oh, we have work saying end. Have a good breakfast. He checks out the newspaper. He's briefed on all the strategic things that are meant to happen and all the current news and the financial markets, and we get to work and it's a go. After work, he gets to get home and debrief. So these people working together are at a very different level. So that also rolls into the space where the perceptions, how bomake angeke bakhone kusebenza because of, which is something that somebody else might not give Sis Nombilo a role at work over you, because just
Bomake.
from the fact
Yeah.
that bomake angeke bakhone kuphatha bobabe,
Yes.
angeke bakhone kuba ne-self-control, but oba emotional. And then again, we have to go back and remember that having feelings is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just about managing them, which men and women all need to
Find a
get
way.
down to the
Yeah.
root of learning how to manage it.
Okay.
So all those stereotypes that we have, especially the cultural ones, and being raised, if a gentleman has to stay home and his wife works, more often than not, that will end up in a GBV situation,
Okay,
because
okay.
even if he started off open-minded and he knew I could throw the washing in the machine, somebody will come along and say, "Here, bakshayeng eliphendi," and then he starts to get anger, and the ego is hurting, and all of this. And
Thawula.
one day she comes home and, "Hey, what are we eating?" "Yeah, vele wache long ban ukuthi," and it's a violent space.
Yeah, yeah.
So they are all a very vicious cycle. The children learn it, and we get into the cycle as they grow up as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's quite interesting because I've seen a whole lot of you speak about work, like work is something that there's a word that's like really popping out of the conversation that you
Yeah.
and I are having or we are having. I'm even tempted to ask now, do we have programs at Katsam Sebendini that support these initiatives, maybe your wellness programs or anything?
Well, definitely join EBH. We've got programs.
Okay, I see what you did there.
We've got programs. Yes, Standard Bank has got a program. So it's a whole set out program. We started with a baseline that set to find out what are the issues that the employees here have, so that awareness sessions that come from actual issues that are on the ground, and then those are spoken about so that people are aware. People are aware that they need to be emotionally intelligent. People are aware they need to balance work and life, do the whole time management and everything. And then there's counseling. So counseling may be for the employee because you are experiencing GBV, you are trying to get out of it, or you are a former, you're experiencing PTSD and you're failing to deal. And then also your relatives, because
Yeah.
it doesn't always affect
Secondary
you,
victim, yes.
you know, your children and everything they might have witnessed and all of that. So then there's the whole counseling situation. There's also, there's a whole spectrum of programs around that organizations can take to make sure that their performance remains high by making sure their employees are healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. And then this is a perfect chance for you at home to actually join in the conversation. We're still on the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. The theme this year is Time to Act Now. And as I send the Q&A for you at home, please don't forget to like, subscribe, definitely share, and like to hear your views on the comment section. It's your time to act now as you comment and definitely answer the Q&A. And we are definitely back. Once again, thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. We would like to hear your feedback, Ekaya, as we definitely are celebrating the global trend, 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. We are Standard Bank and definitely making sure that this is the Blue Table Talks where we have meaningful conversations. Nompilo, well, finally, thank you for joining us. It looks like it was taking a long while. There's a whole lot of activity. I don't know if I can even put out the place, somewhere just next to Manzini, on your way to Tubung. I won't mention the place. In as far as the intersections between HIV and AIDS and GBV, would you care enough to elaborate on how everything stands in as far as that question is concerned?
Thank you so much, Mgonde. Coming to issues of GBV, it's a big barrier when it comes to provision of health services and also accessing them. As you have highlighted, I thought you were referring to the data that we have just got from SHIMS 3, where it was really indicating that along the Matapa, we
I
seem
didn't
to,
want to say Matapa. I wanted to, but
yes,
yeah.
we seem to be getting a lot of
Numbers.
that indicates. And what is so paining is that we are seeing young people showing up with the new data, meaning we have new infections among the young people. And like Langamandla has said, that it becomes a chain. For us, in as much as they've experienced the violence or whatsoever, they are even shy to come to the facility to report and access services after post of what has happened. So you find that they shy away, and because they are afraid to say this has happened to me, so that we start to, like he has mentioned, that there is a lot of services that needs to be provided. We have PEP, which is more to say, in case the rapist is HIV positive, we are able to be protected from HIV, and then while we are treating and screening for STIs. So the individual, they come at a later stage where now they can't control the situation or whatsoever that they have encountered after the sort of like what has happened to them. So that is one thing which becomes a problem. And then we end up also on the other side seeing people showing very late at facility level already or having opportunistic infection. So with the assessment, we then realized that there was a GBV It's either by the partner or something that happened.
Okay,
And
yeah.
then that is when you see that there should be something that needs to be done at community level, like he has mentioned, or somewhere. I'm happy that we have EPH who are already moving out to reach people, so that people are sensitized to report early.
Yeah.
Our services, they don't demand to say, tell us who did this, but we provide the services, and then we speak to the person. And with support from our partners that we are having as a country that support in the implementation of the services at community and facility level, we are so, I would say, privileged to have 8 psychologists now. We had 4 before, and now we're having 4 psychologists again, which means that we have a total of 8, two per region, to address the mental illnesses situation, because as they come to us, we have been having that gap. Only wellness were sort of like for the service providers, but we're not much to the patient. It's now that we have seen that we need to add to the number that we already have in some of the settings within the Ministry of Health. So now the facilities are able to link the individuals to those the psychologists. And also we have the social workers, because as he has mentioned, Nhlangamandla Gutsi, I will come and report, but there will be a need to go where I am staying, so that they're able to gather information and inform the different sectors that are helping in responding to such scenarios. So for us, it then makes it easy for our people to access services. And if they, for instance, I say I test positive after being exposed to GBV, I'm able also to take up the treatment. We know when you talk of HIV treatment, it's a lifelong. So there will be those supporting steps with the engagement of the psychologists, social workers, and also the health providers, to make sure that the individual understand and also heal from what has just happened. And the social worker is supporting, creating the environment, sort of like supporting the individual, because it doesn't end with me getting the services and everything, but way back home, I have reported and I've received the services, but where I'm going, the uncle is still there. Exactly.
Yeah. So apart from the Matsapa zone, with their people being skeptic on going to report these cases or accessing your services, what other challenges are you facing kule corridor leo, if there are any?
I wouldn't say only Matsapa.
Yes.
Yeah, we have spotted a lot of sort of like areas that needs more attention, which one, it's the issues of GPV and also the IPV, as she has mentioned.
Yes.
So there's a lot. For now, with the data that we have got, we have seen that in as much as we're seeing young people coming up, also men, and also the upper age women, we are trying now to gather information to see what are the issues around those women, so that whatever services that we're bringing, we are in sort of like collaborating with our partners that are also coming with other services, so that we make sure that the person that we are targeting, it is not only delivering health services, or we are only coming with prevention, sort of like services or commodities on HIV, but make sure that we also looking on the other aspect. As for now, with the created focus that we're having, it's integrating our services, making sure that as you come, you get a whole package that will address all the issues of the nature. So coming to the places, like I've said, that it's not only Matsapa. We are really working with our partners on the ground to make sure that we reach so many. We do have these, I would say, busy lines where we have then now, as Minister of Health, open up our scope of focus, making sure that we also get to the communities that were sort of like not noticed before. We talk of the key populations, which includes our sex workers, MSMs, we're having the trans, and also the mobile population, the truck drivers and others. Because if we are here today, we are somewhere, we are exposed, we are vulnerable. So again, it then, as he has said, all these cascades to a level whereby we are now talking about GPV. So that also does not leave out, because if I moved from where I am to seek for job, and I realize that the money is not enough to pay for rent, to make sure that I eat, to make sure that I look nice. So I will try to get a substitute to make sure that they sort of like, exactly, and making sure that what I'm getting is now beefed a bit. So that also exposed me to HIV. Then when I get back home, the GPV start, because once my partner realized that
I've infected.
Exactly, then it starts.
Yes, I totally get you. And I totally get you. And which brings me to the question. I would say, at some point you even reached 95, and everybody was celebrating. I don't know, Tsuan, I don't know what was the straw that broke the camel's back, and then we relapsed and we are having new infections now, because I want to understand, we would say, does GBV really contribute, or is GBV a huge contributor to the new HIV infections?
Mgunu, you have said it.
No,
When you talk of GBV, definitely, like I have put an example to say, if we talk of sex, I don't consent. So there will be that force, which at the end of the day does not prepare me for what we are up to. So it's like I have to calm down and making sure that, oh, okay, let me do it because now he has said, but I am not there. We know when we talk of HIV transmission, it's more to say I should be lubricated so that we minimize the chances. So if I'm dry, then automatically there will be, especially if
infection.
we have not both shared our HIV status, like we have tested both. Maybe I know I'm HIV negative, but it's difficult to ask Langamandla and say, hey, my partner, have you tested? I will just rely on what he has told me to say. No, I tested 2 weeks. That's in grand. And I was like, okay, there it goes. But exactly. And as we move on, it just slips off our mind to continue reminding each one of us to say, you last say 2 weeks, now it's 5 months, what next? So in that aspect, if one is already HIV positive and there are issues of GBV in that setting, so there are high chances of transmission. And it's so painful because if it's the women that present with the HIV positive status, then the violence is too much. Because it's like you have been cheating on me, it means that you don't respect me and all the stuff. So we do experience such cases, and that also indicates when it comes to, say, GBV and HIV, it's linked. And it even goes to say, if the person is already initiated, some they come and report that my partner has taken my medication and flushed it away because we had a fight and all the stuff. So without supporting, like he has said from the start, to say who is there supporting you and are there any issues, you are welcome to come and report them so that we know if the individual is already initiated on treatment or on care, they will sort of like present a good adherence because there is that support system and the individual is also comfortable to use the system. Currently, when you come to the facility when you're human, you have to take permission from the husband. The test, they can't sort of like take the treatment there and there. What they will always report, I have to consult with my partner. I have to consult with my partner. And then only to find that after some time, we try to check the partner. He's already in the system.
CMIS. Taking
very well treatment and all the like. So that is what Lamal is talking about to say. That is when then women felt like they are sort of like in all aspects when it comes to GBV because they even miss some of these services, like I've indicated from the facility, and they present with poor adherence, even if they are already sort of like enrolled in care to make sure that they follow up.
Brilliant. And then I also picked up that as EPH, you guys have actually improved or buffered the support system. Is it EPH where you said you have eight psychologists now? So my question is, what is it that you have been doing to actually create a safe environment in as far as employees living with HIV and GBV survivors goes?
Thank you. Well, we provide mental health services. So in terms of what Nombilo was talking about just now, already, if Babe Ekaya is taking treatment, he might have been having those, and he was unable to even speak to his partner about what he's found, which is one of the things that are very, very critical for people to walk together in the journey of healing, in terms of the medication and then the mental health in the home space. And then the woman is obviously very scared because she does not think she can have a conversation with that person who actually is dealing with the same issue. So with GBV, you cannot tell a person to report. You need to do the gentle nudging through counseling sessions, having that communication, encouraging people to get the support structures within their family and find people that they trust to work with, to work through the stages of the acceptance of the situation that they're in, be it the GBV and HIV. Actually, most people will fall into depression and have the anxiety, get panic attacks, and all of that. For some people, finding out that they're HIV positive is almost like death.
Yes, the end.
Because they expect that this is the end of my life, and you need a person who's going to be able to work you back to a state where you know that, okay, the life continues, I need to be healthy, I need to take care of myself, I need to feed back into my family, my community. So we support individuals in that way, and also group therapy, where you can have that situation with your family, you know, and debriefing when the whole situation of the trauma. So we do provide debriefing sessions as well for people to come and sit down and hash out their feelings with a good facilitation, so that they work towards a productive solution of what they are going through. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I like how we are really coming up with solutions, because for the longest of times we'd be able to identify the challenges but not the solutions. So I'm really, really happy that there's a whole lot of activity in as far as solutions are concerned. Which brings me to the subject, Babindla Gamandla. Quite recently, there's a statistic that was shared. I think it's upgraded as of now. As Eswatini, we are currently number 3 in as far as suicide cases are concerned. First is Guyana, second is Lesotho, and then number 3 is Eswatini. People that are most likely to commit suicide. And then when we narrow down the statistics again, looking into our national statistics, as it stands from the year January to September or August, I can't really recall, but I could be corrected, we are at 114 suicides. And then 85 of those suicides are males. And then again, if you narrow down the statistic, out of the 85, 77 are from the ages 25, we are at dude. There's a whole lot of things that are not being addressed. And I want to find out from you, Gutse, what are the harmful is it toxic masculinity or cultural norms that we are really, really afraid to confront, and what role have they played in as far as informing the boy child?
Thank you so much, Mngoni, about that question. You know, you are touching a very serious subject on that one, because, you know, the issue of suicide, we need to understand that suicide does not come with one just deciding, I'm too happy today, I want to kill myself. It comes as a result when now you see all roads closed. The only open door for you now is for you to die. And, you know, at times we need to reach to a point where we discuss the aspect on how the social norms and societal expectations contribute in one finding it's hard to survive. Because, you know, I will start with the aspect of the COVID-19. You know, during the COVID-19, it told us a very harsh subject to say there are essential services and non-essential services. And, you know, with the societal expectation that as a man you need to provide for your family, and then you are now not able to provide for the family, it means you are not a man enough. Because, you know, even in a happy relationship,
you must be able to provide.
You must be able to provide. Even on month end, tomorrow we're going for a Black Friday. I will tell you without fear of contradiction that most men are stressed right now because they failed to give their partners money for Black Friday.
And that may trigger IPV somewhere.
Exactly.
Which is intimate partner violence.
Exactly. So now, there is an aspect, the duty to provide within COVID-19, it made it hard for men because they lost jobs. Those who were not in essential services, they lost jobs. And their partners who are in essential services, they tend to be the providers of their families, which then now presented a huge mental health breakdown for them and also resulted in them killing themselves. Before they kill themselves, they will start by perpetuating gender-based violence. And also, in relation to issues of HIV, again, I wanted to highlight this point that gender-based violence happens on the aspect of power. There is the power and control. And also, 80% or 70% of GBV cases in Eswatini, they happened within the home setting.
Okay.
So now if it happens within the home setting, it means that it's the person that has got the power and the control over the affairs of the family. So now if I'm the owner or I'm the one who have got control over the affairs of the family, whatever I do, you don't get to
Question
report
it,
it.
yeah.
And also,
dividend.
if my partner has to test positive, she will be afraid to take that
confront.
medication because first of all, she will be confused, which is the right time to take my medication because I need to make sure that I don't take my medication when my partner is back because it will be like, you've been so promiscuous, now you were drinking, where did you get this? Even if I don't know my HIV status. And also the other aspect is that, that her being afraid of taking the medication because she's trying to hide it from me, it also affects her on her adherence to treatment, which then now delays us in terms of ensuring that the virus in her body is suppressed. So now that again is then links us back to the issues of suicide, where now you'll find that these men will find it hard to cope with the situations, with all the burdens and all the expectations. Children now, they need, okay, it starts here. As a real man, it means that society defines you as a man that needs to sleep around. As you are sleeping around, you will be sleeping around will be
exposed,
defined by you having unprotected sex.
Okay.
You are getting STIs where now we've got men with penile cancer, where now there are complications on penile cancer, and then we have a number of unwanted children, whereby you are all over the place, and now you are not able to provide for them. So now, as you are a man that is not able to provide for your family, you feel like I'm not a real man.
Okay.
So now it's good for me to
Spirals out of
die,
control. Okay.
to confirm, to certify my death, because I died long time ago. So that is why you will find that most women, they try the most to commit suicide, but they are not successful.
Yes.
Men, they try the least to commit suicide, but they are successful. So they use lethal ways of committing suicide, and because they've already made up their mind, just because they see themselves as a misfit to society. So we need to understand that the suicide, the high cases of suicide that we see in the country, they stem more on the aspect of socialization, stem more on terms of what it means to be a real man. What is the definition of a man, a real man in Eswatini? It makes us vulnerable into that uncontrollable situation of suicide.
Yeah.
And also, it is, I wish to highlight this other aspect that when it talk in the issue of GBV, because it's a very broad topic, is that viewers at home needs to understand that perpetrators, they don't come dressed like a devil. They are the most sweetest people on earth.
Okay.
But please understand this. Even your sweetest partner, once he starts or she starts by one being so too jealous about you, once he or she removes you from other people that you care about to only concentrate on him,
Okay.
that is a simple sign to say this person is isolating you from any other person that once he starts abusing you could easily identify that as abuse, to see that you are being abused. He or she removes you from those people. Why? Because that person wants to control you. So it is so much important that you need to start be curious. Why is this person now
isolating
only want me for him or herself only?
Yeah.
And also, we need to understand that everyone is a person, and we are an interpersonal being. We are a human being with other people to connect with. Once I'm removing you from these connections, you must clearly understand that that's the first sign of a perpetrator.
Yeah. Okay, I get it, Mr. Dlamini. We're slowly getting into, or maybe we'll be celebrating or commemorating, not even celebrating, World AIDS Day in a couple of days. There's this NGO that I worked with, and I would like for you to try and address it in as far as how can we fight GBV amongst males, because there's this issue of early sexual debut, where we find out that 10-year-olds are sleeping with people that could possibly be like in their early 20s or late 20s. And these ones come in disguised as laba laba banakakelako, singababita ngitsibosisi or something. And in most males, if you sit down and have these conversations with them, bahlete khatsi sangweni, they will tell you ukuthi my sexual debut was actually with an older person. So now my question is, how can we help fight some of these cases? Because if one at the age 11 sleeps probably with someone that's in a mid or early 20s, the boys are going, when you come back and tell the boys, they're going to give you a fist pump, because now you come back as a hero because you were able to do that to an older individual or person. Yet when a girl, or maybe when that happens to a girl, we go to the nearest police station. So now my question is there something that you are doing in as far as creating platforms for men to actually have conversations, meaningful conversations, of course, in as far as gender-based issues are concerned? Yes,
thank you so much, Mnguni, for that question. Yes, as a country, we are doing something around that. Yes, it might not be at the rate where we would be proud of. But as a Men Engaged Network, we are working through our various partners. We have got 30 network members, where amongst them we've got the likes of Kwaka Invotes, the likes of SWAG, about Help Plus for Men, which we are, those and many other organizations which are working towards ensuring that we do the resocialization of the boy child, not to celebrate something that is destructive to your life as something to celebrate, as an achievement, because that's when it needs to start, because we may have a lot of platforms for people to report, but as the person that is being abused does not view that as abuse, it makes it useless for us to have those structures. So now part of the interventions we do the engagement and resocializing them, and also making it clear as to why that is harmful for them. And then from there, we've seen an improvement in terms of how they now report cases. In my other experience when I was still with SWACAM, we did a study when now we are doing a project with Empower Girls for Improved Health and Wellbeing, where we're doing a school-based interventions. We're targeting the 9 to 13s. That intervention that study showed that the boys that were participating in the Boys for Change clubs, they reported they benefited the most. Actually, the study showed that the boys benefited more than the girls, who were the primary target for that study, which says more boys now, they were resulting to non-violent means of resolving conflicts, when they being attacked by someone, instead of fighting back, they would go and report it. And we had instances when now the boys will also hold another person accountable, another club member accountable, if that person was now behaving in a way that is not welcomed amongst club members. So which means that when boy children are being taught and they are engaged on these issues, they are able to change. And much against to them saying that boys will always be boys. I've seen in situations where now
They
when we
reform.
engage and they are reform and they turn, because I always say violence is learned and it can be unlearned.
Yes.
And also, everyone is a victim of violence. It's not necessarily that as men we are always, when there is violence, we are winning. We are not winning at all. Actually, even for the perpetrator that's raping, that's rapist as well. You are losing on your own. So it is so much important that we both give ourselves in to change and also to unlearn all these harmful norms and values.
Perfect. I blended perfectly. Thank you so much, Mr. Ndlangamandla. In as far as the girl child is concerned, Nompilo, are we applying the same measures Mr. Ndlangamandla is actually highlighting in as far as sexual reproductive health is concerned?
Yes, we do have well-established programs that are empowering the girl child and making sure that also speak to the integration of their services. What is also good is that in our current plan, which is the 5-year plan that we have within the different programs, it is also in looking to the boy child. That as we provide the services, we also speak to the boy child so that they are also empowered the same when it comes to accessing health services and also making sure that they use all the corners that sort of like respond to their needs when it comes to SRH issues. So we do have the program that is really tailored to make sure it focuses on the SRH. And what we have also done, beyond looking at the boy child, we are also trying to come out with well-established facilities, though they are sort of like not as we want, which is just men, where they're getting all the services, because we are also trying to work as Ndlangamandla, they come, and that we're also coming with our own puzzle at facility level so that we respond to their needs and making sure that we sort of like encourage the uptake of the services, which we are also working and incorporating the SRA issues, as he has said, that some of these GP issues, once you are a man and your SRH is sort of like questioned and you are no longer performing, then that's the starting of the fight. So they seem sort of like a bit not sure where to go, because my thing now is not functioning as I would want to. So we're now looking at putting those services, making sure that we have, we already have in these few wellness centers that we have in the country. There are sort of like 5. We're moving, making sure that we escalate them to a number that will sort of like cut across in all the regions that we have, and we know men are using those centers. So it's only men. You just go the men, and it's tailored for men, so that they also feel like welcomed and
comfortable.
Exactly
Confidential as well.
Yeah, we are trying to bring this out. Yes, ngoba ngeke nasuhleli bomake khala bantwana, and you know a man can say these children, so decide not me, I'll come back tomorrow. Again, so we're trying to respond to some of the studies that were conducted by Bokwaka and Water, so that we address the issues why there's less uptake. Because we know when they get there, they will sort of like say out their issues, which in a way, under the health expert, we'll able to respond to them as they come in with the psychology, the mental health, and what he is talking about. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Nompilo. And you at home, please make sure that you join in the conversation. Would like to fill up and see what you are saying on the comment section. We'd really like to hear from you. We're still on our Blue Table Talks, where we're celebrating or commemorating 16 days of activism, where we're just saying it's time to act now. Mr. Ndlangamandla spoke about the boy child, she spoke about the girl child. In as far as corporate stands, may you please try and enlighten us on how far or what programs are we doing to make sure that we capacitate both the male and definitely the female in as far as GPV is concerned?
Thank you. So there's a lot of awareness and the conversations that go on in order to address issues that people are already dealing with. So within the corporate space, what will emanate and will show as GBV is already a situation where, from a childhood point, whether it's an experienced GBV or it's a witnessed GBV. We then deal with people who grow up with certain issues. So someone will say it's a corporate space and maybe umpas unje.
Okay.
And the issues that require emotional intelligence to deal with, coming in together from people from different backgrounds and having to work as teams. But you find that you've got victims and also perpetrators.
Of course.
Because some people will bring their ideology into a workspace and find themselves not even knowing, subconsciously, abusing others. So you know there's a workplace bully. I mean, I sometimes tell people that, don't get triggered by a workplace bully every day, because a workplace bully is somebody who's got issues.
Of course.
Shouldn't you rather think, oh, shame?
Poor thing.
He's got a low self-esteem, can't control themselves, poor impulse control, anger issues, can't deal with change. There's no adaptability in that person. So it's a very key thing for us to try and build resilience and help people actually become self-aware. Become self-aware of their issues. Those people who have those, boys grow up, as you were saying, touched by the auntie and
Yes.
Kwaila Koko
Yes.
is also another one.
Yes.
That is a very big invasion of privacy, which
Yeah.
a man might grow up with just
Hey.
ego issues.
Yeah.
That happened, because ukule nayo lento, ikule imlimata and utawungcunzwa ngumuntu nge-mistake, and then they're mad, and then it's an environment where we need to be getting together and achieving certain goals. So, and in actually having the conversations, we are bringing the issues up so that people know to step forward. A lot of the time, you find that you go to a place and you speak, and you create awareness on a certain issue, including the violence, including mental health. And some of the things that come up, just when you talk about mental health, people are passing you a phone number. Can you please ask for me to come for a counseling session? I think I was really, really touched by when this conversation, and it really emanated to something that I'm experiencing. But I didn't actually realize that it's kind of because these things have previously been a taboo. Our ministry is placed down there where people think once you've been there, maybe you never come back, because now 10 years later, so we are depression. Any depression wabanayo nini bakusita wanathema pilisi, and you did the whole course and you were fine. You went there to get okay, and then you were okay. Meanwhile, if you had gone somewhere for a flu shot, nobody would still be thinking 10 years later you've got a flu shot. So it's firstly about bringing the awareness so that people know that it's okay to be a victim. It's not something that you need to live in a victim mentality.
Okay, I
So
get
you
it.
work past it, and then you
100%.
become productive, and you're able to raise children, and you're
Okay.
able to work with
Being
other
a
people.
victim.
And you're able to pursue your interests, your career interests, your personal interests, and all of that, because then you're still hung up on an experience that you had, or you're still hung up. And some people are just walking around with a lot of that guilt because they were a perpetrator.
Of course.
Because the perpetrator needs help as well. And they are walking around with that guilt, and they're basically eggshells. Everybody else needs to walk around eggshells, and they don't even know why. And also just bringing the awareness. I always say, if you know that your colleague was timeless, very punctual at work, conscientious of how they look, very particular of their work, attention to detail, perhaps a certain level of performance, and all of a sudden they drop. How dress code, how she forgets her earrings. We know she's an earring person, perhaps a watch person, and all of this. And then you say, oh no, they're starting to go mad. You get in the kitchen and you have a little gossip, and you affect the person even worse. Meanwhile, the person left home with a very big issue that they were dealing with.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
they're just trying to keep up in this
Okay.
moment in time. So if we deal with each other in that kind of awareness, that, oh my goodness, something could be happening to Sianda. Why all of a sudden is this a change in this behavior? Why all of a sudden are they isolating? Are you promoting a Kele office? Not really. They could not be feeling like they fit in that situation because of an esteem issue
Okay.
that of something that has happened.
Yeah.
So we need to understand each other differently and understand that my perception about you is not always actually what it is.
Yeah.
Try and find out. Lean closer to each other in terms of
Okay.
being a friend, being a sister, being help, before we want to be judgmental and throw stones
Yeah.
and make other people feel uncomfortable, because
Yeah.
this is why everybody is closing doors in and moving out in a fight.
Yeah.
Hence, there's a very big, the buzzword of toxic environments and toxic, I mean, if toxic environment is such a buzzword, how does it mean we're all treating each other? Because that means we are all moving in a toxic direction towards each other. So it starts with me creating an understanding, being more understanding and patient with the people around me, so that a brother who is in trouble might feel comfortable enough one day to sit next to me and have a coffee and say,
Of
yo,
course.
you know, I'm struggling,
Yes.
and get to a space where they get help, because they won't feel like it's such a big ego thing. They won't feel like it's the end of the world, because the doors are closed because everybody is hopeless. Who will you talk to? And then a person will walk around, you will say, oh no, they committed suicide, but they were such a friendly person, and they knew 10,000 people. And then on the 10,000 people, and all of us are raising hands, he was so nice, she was so nice, and we don't stop to think about, we did not enable that person to come.
We're not safe space enough for them.
None of us were.
I get it.
None of us were. None of us are at work. And then we need to perform. Umqashi wants performance. They want a bottom line. And then the companies that are more aware that actually having people who are fine and well, and they have been taken care of in terms of their health, they've done the health screenings, they're eating well, they're doing all the exercise, and they are engaging in ways that are going to make them have a positive impact, is also positive for their bottom line, but it works on a bigger scale for the community and the country, because we even are bringing in more in terms of the economy. We are working
Okay. I
as
get it.
opposed to dying.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. And quite interestingly, there's something that I probably wanted to touch on as we're chasing the clock. In as far as the policies that are at work to sustain a GBV-free environment, are they there? Do they exist? How far do they come and go? Because we have this issue about work husband, wife husband, you know, where someone someday will touch someone enzaweni legabi. When it's friendly fire, it's nice and easy. But on the day whereby the husband or wife has done something ekaya, it becomes something else, because there was a bad touch, you know. So how do we have the policies that address some of these issues at work?
And
Okay.
they stay under the table until they need to come out and
Surface, yeah.
there's a problem, and it all well, the labor laws protect employees, but then company by company has got, I mean, you know, there are companies where you even find couples, but there are those that don't allow it. So it all kugcina ngalokuthi organization, what policies are they putting in place
Okay.
to protect their employees? Time to act now, and they're saying stop. You
Okay.
know that the policy behind that logo in blue is just no tolerance.
Okay.
There's just a zero tolerance, you know. And obviously they've put in place the situation where they will consider your health, your mental health, and they will
Yes.
want to look at it and
Okay.
find the spaces of assessment. Is it something that is dismissible? Is it something that you could be assisted with? But all of that is guided by the policies that are in place.
Okay.
I think my Nompilo, you look like you want to expand.
Yeah. No, I wanted to ask her, Vele, as a parting shot, obviously, of course, with noting are there innovative ways even that you are trying to implement in trying to make sure that Labo SRH ba kahle? And of course, what would be your closing remarks?
Thank you so much for that great question. Innovations are being put in place. For SRH, targeting the young people, as we know in our language,
Cultural cement.
Yes, yes. So we are moving digital, and now we do have apps that are sort of like giving information to the young ones and making sure that whatever that they need, they can go to that app. We call it Nono, that sort of like makes an interaction, like you can write something and it responds,
Oh, okay,
so
okay,
that
okay.
and it can refer you to any facility. On the other hand, with issues of adherence, we have also, we're in the process of piloting one digital app, which is Nota, which will integrate all the information,
Okay.
so that whenever you have some issues with GPV, you can get into the app and it will tell you, it book you. As you come, it will tell you when to come to the facility.
Okay.
So the facility will be waiting for you. So we want to create the communication also from the client side, because for now as a country we've been like us as facility level only documenting and everything is there, but we have not been allowing the client to also get into the system and talk with the facility to say, I want to circumcise, I've missed I have issue of
Okay.
GPV, so that it then respond to you to say you can come to the facility at this time, we've booked you. So it will then flag out your appointment. So those are the innovations that were coming in, trying to align again, as we've picked in South Africa. Our young people are more in the social media,
Okay.
including the young men. So we are
Young
moving
Ndlangamandlas,
towards where they are, so that they are able to get the information again. And we are so grateful with our partners for Standard Bank, because whenever we get into their space, they do accommodate us to say, come and do your KYC
Okay.
and remember to take something like that.
Okay.
So we are so grateful with that network that we have as a ministry with our implementing partners in the country.
Okay, thank you so much. Ndlangamandla, closing words. 30 seconds.
Thank you so much, Mgona. I think for me, it will be just to urge Maswati to say, if you are a man, if you were to change tomorrow to be a woman, will you be happy to be a partner of the kind of man that you are to your partner? Will you be happy to be, if you are to be a child, will you be happy to be a child of the kind of a father that you are to your children? If not, please change.
Okay.
Because even your partner is not happy about you, same as your children, they are not happy with you. And maybe if I did now move to a woman, if you are as a woman, you change to be a man, will you be happy to be a partner of the kind of wife or partner that you are to your husband? If not, please change, because even him is not happy about you. Same, if you are to say you are to a child, will you be happy to be a child of a mother like you? If not, please change, because even your children are not happy. In so doing, it will ensure that we have an environment that is kind to each other, so that everyone will have more positive things than negative things we say about each other.
Thank you so much. Do you have your 30 seconds, Yanda, or you're fine with that? You're happy. Bye-bye. Bye.
You can seek professional help. Seek professional help.
Seek professional help. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Ekaya, thank you so much for joining us at this very fruitful conversation where we had these amazing panelists. Lapo Kona, we were just discussing 16 days of activism. It is definitely Standard Bank, and this is the Blue Table Talks. It's your host, Mfundo Simelane, a.k.a. Ndosho Bengune. Stawubonana nasesiyothola lisito. It's a wrap, and have a very good night.